The following is rated not safe for work. It contains strong language, adult situations, and lots of spoilers. Discretion is advised.
In the criminal justice system, cinematic-based offenses are considered especially heinous. The dedicated attorneys who investigate these villainous films are members of an elite squad known as the Reels of Justice. These are their stories.
Order, please, order. The Reels of Justice is now in session. Judge Gillian J. Schlender presiding. We all rise for the terrible Judge Schlender.
He is terrible.
Hey, be seated. Welcome to the Reels of Justice. Hell on Reels. Today we are hearing the case of The People versus Dead Silence, a 2007 horror movie about a widower trying to unravel the mysterious and creepy doll-related death of his wife. For those of you unfamiliar with our spooky court proceedings, we are here to determine if this film is guilty of the sin of being a bad movie. If so, it shall be cast for all eternity into the fiery pits of movie hell, upon which this courthouse just so happens to be built.
Very convenient. We got a good price.
Yeah, it saves a lot of money. And to that end, Mr. Bangs, you are representing the prosecution. You may present your opening statement.
Thank you, Your Honor. I'm not just representing the prosecution. I'm representing Trailer Trash.
Yeah! Oh, dear.
The show where we watch trailers and we get trashed. Now, Your Honor, ladies and gentlemen, Dead Silence is a horror film that deals with the unprecedented topic of haunted and possessed ventriloquist dummies. Now, at the time, this bold and innovative notion of a toy coming to life had never been tackled a single time before in the history of motion picture media. Except for 1945's Dead of Night, obviously. But except for that one singular example, this never-before-seen concept revolutionized... and there's 1964's Devil Doll, of course. But that one goes without saying. Oh, and that one movie, Magic, with Anthony Hopkins, too. But discounting those three, teensy, weensy, little... Oh, yeah, and Dolls. Oh, and Dolly Dearest. And Trilogy of Terror 1 and 2. And Pinocchio's Revenge. And Making Contact. And Asylum. Poltergeist. Tales from the Hood. Tales from the Crypt. Oh, and all 8 Child's Play movies. And the Chucky TV show. 3 Annabelle movies. 14 Puppet Masters. 5 Demonic Toys, 5 Robert the Dolls, and of course Goosebumps, Night of the Living Dummy 1, 2, and 3. But besides those obscure and oft-forgotten instances, there was an absolute dearth of this type of story in the visual medium. Fortunately for us, filmmakers James Wan and Lee Wannell were too brave to leave this void in the genre unfilled. Because Lord knows, when I think of terror, and I mean sheer, pant-shitting terror, I think of something that stands only 3 feet tall and weighs 2.5 pounds. I thank you.
Thank you.
That's the biggest mother.
Appearing on behalf of the defense is Mr. D-Rok Schlender. Please present your opening statement.
Objection! This guy clearly knows the judge.
I'll allow it.
And I bribed you with beer.
I brought this.
You know, for somebody who's repping Trailer Trashed, you went on for so long, I think I sobered up.
Ha!
Impossible.
Honorable members of the jury, Dead Silence is a 1989 Australian psychological thriller film directed by Philip Noyce and starring Sam Neill, Nicole Kidman, and Billy Zane.
Order. Mr. Schlender, we're discussing the James Wan Dead Silence.
That's dead calm!
Your Honor, I request a brief recess so I may sit on the swing and consult my legal team via Flintstone phone.
Yabba dabba doo, I like consoling with you!
Well, what you guys didn't hear is that this is actually 3 hours later. Mr. Schlender, please continue with your opening statement.
Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, presented before you is without a doubt the easiest case I will either try or stand trial for this week. The question isn't whether Dead Silence is a good movie, but rather to what extent it is a good movie. To what degree does a plot need coherency in order to progress? How strong does the acting need to be in order to provide the impetus for sympathy and concern? What level of lighting and sound design are required to aid in the execution of any movie, let alone a horror movie? Now, even as I ask these questions, your minds begin thinking of possible answers and parallels where the execution was flawed, the movie itself was anywhere from serviceable fun and enjoyable trash to actually pretty good when you think about it. Over the course of this case, it will fall to you, the jury, to decide where on the spectrum of good Dead Silence lands, because it certainly, empirically, emphatically, is not a bad movie.
Thank you.
We'll see.
Well, that's why we're all here.
It's an audio
To be
recording,
fair.
so I guess we'll hear.
Thank you, Mr. Schlender. Mr. Bangs, you may proceed with your first exhibit.
Thank you, Your Honor. I want to start with the monster of this film, James Wan.
What?
No, I'm talking about Mary Shaw. And she is this convoluted amalgamation of ideas. She's the ghost of a murdered ventriloquist. Rightfully murdered, by the way, as she did kill children. So maybe it's more appropriate to say she was executed. Who can still control her old dummies through possession to do her bidding and commit murder. That's not so bad of an idea. It's a fun play on the killer toy trope. And if this movie focused on that idea, it may have worked out as a decent popcorn horror movie. Yes, the dummy scares would have all felt very familiar and probably not had much impact on anyone not suffering from automatonophobia. It's the fear of figures that look like humans.
Oh, that's what Ryan has.
Maybe. He might have pediophobia. It's the fear of dolls.
Oh.
And probably the audience would have rolled their eyes like, yeah, Night of the Living Dummy hasn't been scary since I was 8 years old. But it would have had focus. But that's not all Mary is. When she was executed, she was forced to scream so they could cut her tongue out. So now she can also return, and if you scream, she can cut your tongue out. So you have to avoid screaming at all costs, because that's basically your only way to kill you. That wouldn't have been too bad either. Kind of a Candyman thing, supernatural revenge angle, even though in this case, Mary, again, actually was a murderer. But needing to keep from screaming would have worked in several sequences if they could have kept their focus on that. It worked for the Tingler. But instead, they basically mashed the two up, and neither idea is really fleshed out very well. And then they add into the mix that if she steals your tongue, she also can steal your voice, despite the fact your voice does not come from your tongue. It comes from your vocal cords vibrating inside your larynx, and also despite the fact that she's a ventriloquist and not an impersonator. Throwing your voice is a very different talent from mimicking others. So they throw way too many ideas up on the screen, hoping one will stick, but all just ooze right off the screen and plop on the floor.
Mr. Schlender, I would like you to respond to this Mary Shaw accusation. Do they stick or do they plop?
Plop.
Plop,
Plop.
fizz. I had the antidote for Maynard's answer.
What a relief it is.
So very famously, as Maynard has hinted, there were script problems from day one. Now, this was, I believe they said it was almost like a mercenary thing. Saw was just coming out, and they weren't sure if they were going to get another paycheck. The studio wasn't exactly
Now, when you say they,
James Wan and
Lee Wannell. Maybe it's Lay.
That's a fake name. Order in the court.
Well, Lee Wannell had a blog post where he was complaining about...
The man's name is Wannell?
Yes. Wannell, they called him after that blog post.
The blog post was in 2011, and it's entitled Dud Silence, The Hellish Experience of Making a Bad Horror Film.
But,
all right, please continue.
So he's getting to, which I think will probably, and I don't want to step on it too much because I think he's getting to a bigger argument here about the process of it.
Yeah, let's just focus on Mary Shaw. He was saying
so
too
the
many
Mary
powers,
Shaw lore was a product of a lot of studio input rewrites. They were saying the villain needs more rules, the villain needs more rules, the villain needs more rules. And in that blog post, he very famously says, only a studio would ask you something as stupid as to provide rules to a magic monster. So, yes, it doesn't all work. Does it make for some pretty interesting visuals, at least? No, it does. Seeing the barbed tongue come out made of other tongues is pretty neat. And by putting an emphasis on so much tongue action, they were able to make the movie delightfully tongue-in-cheek. So, yes, the monster laws are a little wonky in context of the real world, but I think in defense of the movie, once they establish a lot of their lore, they don't really break from it. So you may not like it, but within the confines of the establishment of the film, it's just a vehicle for creepy imagery, and you got to have dead people speak to the live people, otherwise they don't get from scene to scene.
It is just a vehicle. It is a Pinto, and it is breaking down. But I do want to follow up because yes, I did my own research into that, and yes, there is that blog post. When Winnell, the writer, describes it as creativity at gunpoint, and basically,
I bet he still cashed the check though.
Oh, I'm sure he did. But yeah, it was before Saw actually hit big theaters. It was supposed to be a fallback film. They pitched him, and they had no idea of what to make, so he locks himself up trying to write something. And I don't think he had an idea, but whatever his original idea may have been, script doctors get to it, the producers get to it, and they dig their claws into it. And basically, it's too many cooks in the kitchen. Ends up really screwing it up, and that. One of my points. Thank you for making it. Defense is that there were too many cooks in the kitchen, and they screwed up what could have been a good thing, but that's not the movie we got. But what I do want to follow up, an important point you made up, rules. Rules are important. I've always believed in rules. Ask anyone who knows me. Big on rules.
You really want us to ask them?
Yes.
Let's call your parole officer.
Ryan Luis Rodriguez. So, in the end, we have this very confused monster that isn't really sure what it wants to be, and I disagree with the defense. Even the movie doesn't know what its rules are. Can Mary only interact with the physical world while possessing one of her dolls, as we see her do in several sequences? At the end, they're trying to destroy her dolls. She seems to need to live through the perfect doll at a moment. Seemingly no, because we have another sequence where we see the spirit of Mary herself kill Henry the Mortician by just making him scream. She seemingly doesn't need a doll at all. She can seemingly exist outside of it. So even if we did destroy all the dolls, like we see in the ending of this film, she seemingly would still be able to go around killing people as just a ghost. Now, does Mary have to make you scream? Or is any scream acceptable? Donnie Wahlberg screams because he's falling, not because of Mary, but that seems to count. So, what does Mary define as a scream? Would a shout count? Or yelling? Or what if I just holler? Would a very loud gasp count? Or is it merely about your proximity to one of her dolls or her ghosts? They don't go into how she got any of these powers, nor what her rules are. I mean, it's not like she's a witch with some pact with the devil, or had access to black magic to create a curse. She's just a child murdering puppeteer / doll maker.
All right, so Mr. Schlender, are the rules there? Are they followed? Or is, like Mr. Banks saying, that they don't even really know themselves?
Well, no, there's definitely merit in a few of his arguments there. The big thing that my takeaway was, it was a proximity to a doll issue. I agree that scene where she's coming out of all the dolls was probably just thrown in so they could show her coming out of dolls, because that's the only part of the movie where that happens. In terms of where she needs to be in order to kill someone, there's a few times where people gasp but cover their mouths. So I think it's much like trying to sneak a kiss at a rave. It is proximity to an open mouth.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
I'm just saying.
This is why I don't go to raves with you anymore.
Well. No, now we just stay home. So
He still tries to sneak kisses.
I always have to steal my kisses from you. So, yeah. And again, a lot of that does come from probably too many cooks in the script doctoring department. Is it enough to really take me out of the movie? No. Is the initial concept that if you're close to her and you scream, she's going to steal your tongue? Do they make that very clear? Yes. Is that really the only thing that matters in a movie like this? That's up to the jury. But I say, yes, it's a simple premise. And every time we start seeing them try and twist it and get a little more complex, I think that's the script doctoring. But it's not enough for me it doesn't pull me out of the movie, because I just...
See, but I disagree.
It's so simple.
It's not a simple concept. She could have just been a ghost puppeteer who kills through possession of her dummies, or she could have just been a ghost that steals your voice with tongues. I bet that's how it started.
Probably.
Because it was just called Silence, and I think it was just about, here's a ghost that steals your voice and your tongue if you scream, so you can't scream. That's not a bad idea. It kind of falls in that darkness falls, lights out, strict rule for a monster. That stuff works. I like monsters with rules. And the fact that she has all of these gimmicks is just too many things going on for her in one monster.
But is it enough to really tank it as an
Let's see what the
enjoyable
jury
movie monster?
decides.
I respectfully don't think it is.
All right, so Mary Shaw, very well covered by both of you. Thank you. If there's the next point you'd like to bring up, Mr. Maynard?
Oh, absolutely. Now, unfortunately, even though the ghost of Mary Shaw is a muddled mess, she's also the best part of this movie. We don't know a lot about her, but what little we know is more than we know about anyone else, because to refer to the other characters as one-dimensional is an insult to one-dimensional characters. First, there's our hero, Jamie. He's some guy. Happens to be an ancestor of one of the people who executed Mary. Rightfully, I reiterate. What does Jamie do for work? That doesn't matter. Whatever it is, apparently he has some great bereavement leave saved up. Then we have this...
You save up bereavement leave?
You should. Otherwise, I've got a dead relative every week.
Easy when you're unemployed.
Then we have his pretty, secretly pregnant wife, Lisa, as the way Jamie refers to her as Lisa. Even Jamie doesn't know she's pregnant, but the ghost of Mary Shaw finds out somehow and kills her in the first 10 minutes. So, sorry, Lisa, you were just a plot device. Next, we have Diamond, Donnie Wahlberger. He's a cop. He's very cop-like. Has all the attributes you might associate with a cop. A gun, a badge, an electric razor he's constantly shaving himself with because he's such a busy cop. He has to shave on the run. Wow, so busy. Such cop. Plus, a prop can sometimes fill in where the screenwriters forgot to add personality. So, did I mention he's a cop? Oh, and then there's Jamie's estranged invalid father, who is obviously a ventriloquist dummy from the moment you see him. He has a little bow tie. His mouth moves sort of directly up and down. He has a brand new wife that Jamie's never met or heard of, who is always standing directly behind him when he's speaking. Like he's obviously a dummy. So let's just skip past that. Maybe the defense wants to be smart and just pretend that whole thing didn't happen.
Would you like to address the deficiencies of the non-Mary Shaw characters?
There are some things I actually kind of want to mention that scene with the father a little later. I have a completely different take on it, but I do think the characters are intentionally supposed to be this way. The movie is even with the extended cut, it's only 90 minutes. Now, this is a very paint by numbers horror movie in a lot of ways. How much of that is because of the script doctoring or just they weren't completely in it? That's fine, because I have seen so many worse movies that have done a worse job with it. And how much time do you really want to drill down on these? This is a summer popcorn movie where it's like, it is a rainy day and it's on TV, you watch it. And there is a place for those kind of movies. This isn't like a Scorsese film, You're going into a rushed product, admittedly, but the characters do serve narrative purpose enough to get to the next scene, and that's all they're there for. So asking them to be something that they're very clearly not, I get that would be really nice, and it would elevate the movie from good to possibly great. But the way it is now, it's good enough to progress a 90-minute popcorn thriller movie.
Well, you're right that they serve narrative purpose, because there has to be a guy who's tormented by the ghost, and that's our protagonist. But we could have cut the whole father's a dummy thing and added 5 minutes anywhere, and then made us know something about this guy, except for the fact that he was married and loses his wife. And besides that, we don't know
several
anything.
Wives.
I think he only lost.
The father lost the wives. The son lost
the son one.
Oh, I thought you were talking about the father at that point.
I don't care much about knowing about the father. It's fine if he's an object because he is literally dead the entire time. So I get that. But our main protagonist, Ryan Quantin, help me out. Help me out. Quantin. Quantin of Solace.
He's Australian. That's why he was saying Lisa.
No solace in this film whatsoever. But just I'm hoping a little bit more from our main characters. At least our main character. At least him. At least if I had a reason to root for him. But I don't care. Again, I care a lot more about Mary Shaw, who I also just wish was more realized.
All right. Then it's still... The ball's still in your court,
right.
Mr.
Well, Your Honor, these characters aren't just flat and undefined. They also happen to be the real dummies in this movie. Diamond Donnie Wahlberg is in charge of investigating the death of Lisa. His chief suspect is, of course...
You can object whenever you want.
His chief suspect is, of course, Jamie.
I get cross.
Though I'm sure the takeout place could have provided a pretty solid alibi, but Jamie tells the cop right to his face, why do I need an alibi? Well, maybe because everyone's going to think you killed your wife. And, there has to be receipts and security footage and anything to get you off the hook, but nobody cares. But it doesn't matter, because Donnie Wahlberg was too busy to have checked these alibis, because he's got to shave on the run. That's how busy he is. Did I mention that? So busy. No time for checking alibis. But apparently, he tells Jamie not to leave the city. And then when his murder suspect directly disobeys him and leaves the city, does Donnie follow him and arrest him? No! And when he catches his chief murder suspect burying, and I quote, evidence in a capital crime, unquote, that's the dummy, Billy, that gets mailed to them, evidence that Donnie never felt compelled to collect and file earlier in the film, by the way.
He was busy!
Does Donnie arrest him then? No! Donnie is the biggest dummy in this whole movie, and maybe that explains why what he says sometimes doesn't match up with the way his mouth moves. But he's not the only dummy. When Jamie and Lisa get the doll in the mail, they immediately give us an exposition dump and acknowledge being familiar with the story of Mary Shaw. Jamie goes on to say it's a local legend in our hometown and that it's believed the dummy brings death to those around them. So when they receive this doll in the mail, do they ever try and throw it away? No! They prop it up and play with it and pose it, because that's what I do with a bad omen, right? And once Jamie finds out that Mary Shaw is actually real and she can actually kill you if you scream, does he say duct tape his mouth shut for the rest of the movie? No! I wish. We all wish, but he's too stupid. In fact, the whole damn town is too stupid. If you lynch a child murderer, good for you, by the way, but maybe, just maybe, don't honor their last fucking wishes and transform their corpse into a doll. Maybe don't bury all their stupid fucking dolls either. Maybe just burn them because she's like a child murderer. Also, maybe search her home or her theater for the puppetized corpse of small children. Do a spot check. Take 15, for Christ's sake. Even Mary Shaw is stupid. Like she has a blood feud with this entire town. She wants to kill every single living ancestor who killed her. Why hasn't she done it? It's not that big a town. It shouldn't take 50 years. She seemingly has little trouble tracking down people who leave Raven's Fair, like Jamie. The longer you wait, Mary, the more there is to do. Just get over it and kill everybody. And with that, prosecution rests.
Very impassioned. Thank you, Mr. Bangs. Let's see here.
Don't I get a...
You do. I have to...
That's the end of the trial.
Yes.
Don't I get a...
You do, but I have a line that I kick it to you.
No, but don't I get to...
you can do
make an objection then.
No, because I get like, what is it, cross-examination of evidence.
No.
Sure,
yeah, you get to present your case.
You
now.
can talk about whatever you want.
Because
it's not a real court.
Yeah, I know. But I
sitting around drinking beer. It's not real.
Where was Mary Shaw? She was clearly busy perfecting the perfect doll. And then she was busy talking to the tourism board because they don't have a business for that small failing mannequin town unless the ghost of Mary Shaw gets some action every couple of years.
That's true. But objection.
It's the town from Scooby-Doo.
Seemingly, I looked it up, and Mary Shaw apparently made the perfect doll before she died.
There's no way she could have.
But that's the synopsis.
Those
I
are
read
facts
online.
not in evidence, not in the film. Facts not in evidence. Objection. Facts not in evidence.
It's not
calls for speculation.
It's not. It does call for speculation.
Yeah,
so we'll let the jury.
There's actually,
We'll let
I
the
will
jury
say,
speculate.
to introduce, there is a whole alternate deleted scene that suggests that it's her spirit.
Yeah,
that
when she
ends up
knocks him
taking
out,
over.
but it never made it into it.
Yeah.
I know exactly what you're talking about.
Okay.
But again,
But then
facts not in
Deleted
evidence.
scene now.
Facts
So
not in
anyway,
evidence.
the prosecution has rested their case. Mr. Schlender, you may present your first exhibit. See, that's what we do.
You're damn right. This is what I do.
Are you having my beer? Or are you opening
that's
for
his
it?
Well, it was your
That's
beer,
too
Your
late.
Honor.
Yeah, Your Honor, you're too slow.
32 and like some beer.
Hey, easy there in the jury. You'll get your spirits when you go into the deliberation room. But in the meantime, Mr. Prosecutor, if you would.
All right, fair enough. My first piece for the defense is I would like to discuss the anatomy of a scene. right? What exactly we need from scenes in a movie like this.
Okay.
So scenes do three things mainly. They develop characters, they do a little bit of world building, they progress the plot, and if we're lucky, they will foreshadow a future event. So let's talk about the scene the prosecution brought up where he meets his father. We see Jamie comes from wealth, so that puts his apartment living into perspective. We know there must be friction with his father. He's greeted by a stepmother he's never met, and that somewhat is a dark mirror to his own recent loss of his own wife and partner. And the whole time, she's saying the father is a changed man. And of course, Jamie doesn't believe it.
It was a changed man.
Yes, exactly.
It was a doll.
Well, she told him then right after. She told him as much. He just didn't want to hear
The
it.
kind of bad jokes this movie makes.
So when he arrives upstairs, he sees his father, a man whose legacy as a bad dad still looms large over our hero. When the new wife pulls the oxygen mask off, the father does not move, does not blink, does not respond, not until she puts her hand behind him. And she also masks that motion by putting her hand on his shoulder, but it is still within frame. Suddenly comes to life, and we have a conversation not only about their strained relationship, but we also uncover more about the legend of Mary Shaw that grips this small town.
It's an exposition dump, Your Honor.
It is, but hold on, it's accomplishing these several tasks. So even though the acting's weak, right, it at least
It's
is
wooden.
Yes, I can't
Don't
even
be
take
a
it this
dummy,
long to do
prosecution.
that. Yeah. So even though the acting is admittedly not the strongest in any movie, the scene follows the tenets of what a good scene is supposed to do. We learn more about Jamie. We learn more about his relationship with his father. We learn more about Raven's Fair. We learn about a little bit of the mythology of Mary Shaw, and we foreshadow that there's something wrong with the father. And it also sets up the all-important "Don't Scream," which plays out immediately in the next scene in the hotel, Holiday Inn.
But it is just an exposition jump. And that's one of the things the screenwriter complained about when the script doctors took over, is that they made things so complicated that it was necessary to exposition dump.
See, for me, the exposition dump was more so when we're talking to anyone at the funeral home.
That's another one.
This felt much more like an organic scene. So it accomplishes all the tenets that a scene is supposed to do, and it does it well enough, and it does it like inside of like 6 minutes, right? So my first piece of evidence then would be, it's a pretty good scene, and it has good and pretty good, ergo can't be bad.
You said it was good.
We'll let the jury decide that.
Yeah, it's up to the jury. I'm just saying, from my point of view, it accomplishes everything scenes are supposed to do, and there's a lot of modern movies that fail to do any
And from
of those
my
things.
point of view, the Jedi are evil.
Yes, stop saying that.
There's an argument to be made for that.
All right. If you'd like to present another point, Mr. Schlender.
Yes, I would like to say that the movie is intentionally tongue-in-cheek, a joke we made earlier. I don't think any part of this movie was meant to be taken seriously.
We said the same thing about *Malignant*.
Yeah, but this one is pretty obvious.
Order in the court.
Well, this one's pretty obvious. Yeah, I believe that Ryan said something about *Malignant* during the *Malignant* case. He said that you are hysterically laughing at James Wan during this movie, and I believe that is exactly the point. I think it's around the 15-minute mark if you want to check your own episode, but I'm pretty sure that it's around there.
How dare you cite precedents in this courtroom?
That's how precedence works. So, I mean, there's a lot about it that I think is intentionally funny. You were ranting about Donnie Wahlberg. I mean, he enters...
Diamond Donnie Wahlberg, please.
Triple diamond Donnie Wahlberg eats a delectable donut. Descending stairs. So, I mean, he started. That's what he does. Is he comes. His first thing on scene is he's eating a donut, and then he immediately starts shaving, and you can tell like it's just so cheesy, and it can't. There's no way you can write that much cheese without being self-aware, and it does it. I mean, it does it to the point like as we point out, like when he dies, we don't even focus on his corpse. We focus on the fact that it's his like electric razor.
Yes.
So the town is called Raven's Fair, right? And the sign says a quiet place to live. I mean, the town itself is set up as a joke. They drive through town and every store is an abandoned mannequin shop by the looks of it. I mean, like, there's no way. I haven't seen this many mannequins since Silent Hill. Like, and it's not meant to be seriously. I mean, even when he's pulling into his family's manor, there's a gargoyle on the gate that's either whispering or covering the sides of his mouth. I can't tell. It's got a monstrously large mouth. Its hands are very small. It's doing its best, right? Even with some of the editing.
Maybe he's just shy.
It's bashful.
Yeah.
No, it's doing like the corners, so it's either whispering or I don't know. But even the editing does...
Booing down a pitcher.
Yeah. Go back, Jamie. We don't like you here. You escaped this town. And so the editing is also very, like, chaotic and cheesy, where they do a lot of like zoom in and out of the eye stuff. They zoom into the town map. Like even the way the movie's like pieced together, it just reeks of like cheese. Like it's not, I mean, the name of the theater they build is called the Grand Guignol, which means marionette. So like no part of this movie.
What's Henry the Mortician's wife's name?
I don't remember.
Marion.
Ah.
Yeah, if she was a little smaller, she'd be a
Marionette. Yeah.
But so like I said, there's so many tongue-in-cheek moments in this. I don't believe we were supposed to ever go into it super seriously. I certainly didn't, and I think most people who enjoy this movie and will find it, as I do, a pretty good movie, are not viewing it from a serious point of view from the jump.
So is it a comedy?
I think there are comedic elements. I think it's one of those things where it's not strictly comedy and it's not strictly horror. I think it is in that Saturday morning, it's a rainy day, what's on TV kind of enjoyment, like a guilty pleasure enjoyment. I think...
You're right about guilty pleasure.
Oh my.
Wrong type of guilty.
But I think the movie thinks it's really scary. I think the movie thinks it's really scary. I think because based on the music, the lighting, Mary Shaw herself, admit it, Mary Shaw's scary as shit. She is. She's just a really weird monster. But what's her damn name? Judith Roberts is scary as hell.
Is she the actress that played Mary Shaw? Okay.
Is really scary. I think it's Julia's mom. It's not.
No.
Probably. I hope. But yeah, Judith Roberts is super scary. Just she is. She just is scary looking.
No,
she has the
is.
right sharp features. She's terrifying on her own.
Right.
So I think the movie wants... I disagree. I think the movie thinks it's really scary. I think some of these things are tongue-in-cheek because James Wan kind of wants to fit in dumb things along the way. But overall, I think he thinks he made a pretty scary movie.
I think there are scary moments, and I'm glad you brought out like some of the creepiness factors of especially like Mary Shaw, which I mean I don't think that's even a point of contention. She's a pretty creepy, spooky.
She's a creepy old lady.
Yeah, no, there's lots of spooky imagery in this, which is why I think it tries like, there is spooky imagery in it. I mean, one of my favorite scenes is actually the part where Henry is actually looking for Marion in the crawl space. Because they set that up early that she likes to hide in there. Because at first you're like,
that's where I'd hide from ghosts.
Yeah,
in the dark crawl space
of the mortuary.
They'll never find me there.
In their defense, if it's dark, maybe the ghost doesn't know if you're screaming. Maybe you can open your mouth as much as you want without.
If you had a tape recorder of you screaming.
But it was a good setup. So again,
baits the ghost.
Yeah, baits the ghost away.
Oh, I'm the judge. I have to be much more impartial than
this. It's funny. I like the idea of recording your voice and throwing it.
Yeah. Tape recorder, throw
it's just but no. So they set it up earlier with the fake out where his wife's in it because we hear the voice and we're like, oh, here comes the spookies, and then it's the wife, and then when it happens the second time, we're like, this is the real spookies. And so he goes down there, and it is very well shot, and it's very tense because the only light source is his flashlight, and we, the audience, know that's not your wife, bud. Like, you are going down there to die, but he is down there, and when he goes to touch, like, what he thinks is his wife, it's another mannequin torso. I mean, this town is just full of mannequin torsos. So even in this moment of tension, they're calling back to the absurdity of a town full of mannequins. And not the sexy ones that come alive, either. So the door closes behind him. The sound starts muting. The sound design in this movie is very good with them, like, dropping the sound out and just kind of, like, enjoying that. And it should, because it's fun. So if he becomes aware the moment he realizes things are getting quiet, that he knows that Mary Shaw's around him. So he turns around, like we see the hands slowly wrap around the post. Again, slow motion hands and stuff like that they're creepy. So the hand grabs the post. He looks, hand disappears, turns, there she is. He screams. She does that really awesome slow smile, rips out his tongue, acquires it to her tongue of many colors, and thereby acquiring his voice.
How I love her tongue of many colors.
It's spooky. It's well shot. It was a tense moment. And, and they foreshadowed it earlier. So I think it is a scene successful.
Yeah, I wouldn't have minded if they stuck to that monster we see in that one scene where she's a ghost and makes you scream. And I bet if there's a scene from the original screenplay that was written by Whannell while he was pacing and chain smoking in Hollywood, it's probably that scene.
I'm sorry, did you say screenplay or screamplay?
Ah!
Order in the corner.
And we've turned against you, old sport, and now it's puns.
No!
That's what we mostly do here.
It's true. It happens.
I agree. I think that scene is scary, and so that's why it's kind of weird when everyone else is sort of goofy the rest of the time.
All right. Mr. Schlender,
I do think there's something to be said about needing to have kind of like flat characters, because if you had somebody who was very excitable about everything, this movie's 5 minutes.
Yeah, but not a protagonist.
It's fine.
I understand
It's
Diamond
fine.
Donnie being the way he is.
You can't get everything, and you just
Why
can't
couldn't we
get
bring
everything.
Carrie Elwes back in this movie?
He's trapped in that room.
They were friends.
all right, let's get a bit back on track here. Is there anything else you'd like to present to the court, Mr. Schlender?
I know the prosecution called it a little bit of cliche and derivative, but I strongly urge you to reconsider this as like horror movie comfort food. There is something kind of fun about knowing you can go into this movie, you know what you're expecting. You're not looking to like reinvent the wheel here. You're just looking to be entertained, maybe get a few spooky images even, and keep it to a tight, not because I mean the extended cut is only 90 minutes, so you keep that movie moving fast, you keep it moving spooky, and I think you move it quickly enough, spooky enough. I can forgive some of the lesser elements.
You hear me complain about the runtime?
No one is, and with that, the defense rests. And as Ryan Lewis, is it Luis Rodriguez?
Luis!
I'm sorry.
dare you.
I'm white. I can't pronounce names. And as Ryan would say, case closed.
No,
No, he would say kiss
I know,
this.
he would have said spooky.
He would have said a lot of things. But regardless, both sides have rested their case. No, I'm going to take that one again.
No, you won't.
Damn it.
This is all staying in.
Oh dear, both sides have rested their cases. Now you want to take it again? That's what I thought. Both sides have rested their cases. The attorneys will now present their closing arguments. Mr. Bangs, you may begin.
Your Honor, ladies and gentlemen, Dead Silence is what I'd like to call try-hard horror. It is trying so hard to convince you that it's as scary as it thinks it is. But it fails miserably. Maybe if it was able to focus on one of the half-dozen half-baked ideas it threw up on the screen, it could have built upon one of them, but instead it's harried and all over the place. Now, maybe that is problems with the Hollywood hack tampering, but the movie we got is post-tampering. So that's the one we got to talk about. The monster is just a hodgepodge of concepts that never gel together into something authentic or lived in. The characters are never really developed, merely introduced, and the film would rather exposition dump about its premise than the people we're supposed to fear for. And the performances, again, are as wooden as the dummies in this movie. And by dummy, I definitely mean Diamond Donnie Wahlberg.
We know you meant Donnie Wahlberg.
This
30
movie...
wooden jokes.
This movie was a waste of all of our precious time, especially Ryan's. The real Dead Silence was the one coming from the audience as soon as the credits rolled. And this is why we must cast it into the fires of the movie hell for all eternity. I thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Schlender, please present your closing argument.
Thank you, Your Honor. Dead Silence is not a perfect movie by any means. No one here believes that, which is why that is not the scope and scale of this case. We are gathered here for one simple, salient reason: to discuss, discover, and decide if 2007's Dead Silence deserves to defend the title of being called a good movie. Let's think about that for a moment. The movie certainly has some flaws, but they are enough to strip it of its title and quality as a good movie. We are brought here under the idea that all movies are good until proven otherwise. I don't believe it has been proven otherwise. As I said in my opening, I believe it is more accurate to place Dead Silence somewhere on the spectrum of being a good movie. Now, gentlemen, in this country, our courts are the great levelers. Our courts, all movies are created equal. Now, I'm no idealist to firmly believe in the integrity of our courts and our jury system. That's no ideal to me. That is a living, working reality. Now, I am confident that you gentlemen will review without passion the evidence that you have heard, come to a decision, and restore this movie to goodness. In the name of God, do your duty. In the name of God, believe Dead Silence.
Banging the table now, you see?
I went this whole trial without banging the table, and now you're banging the table. I finally get over it, and now there's a Schlender banging the table.
I bet your father was a table banger.
Hey, you leave Daryl out of this, but actually,
he's a saint. Absolutely a table banger.
I just see it.
How loud was it?
Pool table.
Oh, we'll hear it. It's gonna catch up.
Oh, you'll feel it too.
So anyway, let me proceed with this next line
God damn it.
Thank you both. Members of the jury, Mr. Big Ben Haslar, Mr. Dylan J. Schlender, and Mr. Beware the Stare of Ryan Luis Rodriguez. He had no children, only dolls. You have all heard the facts concerning this case.
But they're Funko Pops. Right?
It is now up to you to determine.
All flesh Muppets.
Very Funko.
I love it.
Don't like the boy.
It is now up to you to determine if this film is guilty of the sin of being a bad movie and will therefore be condemned to the depths of movie hell. The bailiff will escort you to the deliberation room to render your verdict.
My mother was an excellent ventriloquist. For years I thought it was my cat who was trying to murder my father.
That one's better with no explanation.
Classic bailiff. That's
What
what
an
you should just
interesting way.
cut and drop into another episode.
All right, guys, what are we thinking? Ben?
So going into this, I didn't think about it too deeply. For me, it was sort of a 50-50 movie, and I just sort of left it at that. I thought it started out smart with the dolls and stuff, but kind of ended dumber as it went along. But then Maynard, he comes in, and he just hits again and again and again. I'm like, yep, that's why it was dumb. Yep, that's why it was dumb. I think this is one of his best cases. Yeah, the razor thing, I hated that. The character was boring. The rewrites, you could just see it friggin' everywhere. This may have been Maynard's best case. I'm impressed.
All right,
Yeah.
I don't disagree that Maynard put on a good case, but I do have to disagree with the razor being dumb. I liked all the decisions Donnie Wahlberg made. I thought like he was just hamming up being a cop, and in the interest of full disclosure, Derek is my brother, so obviously there's not many Schlenders
Nepotism.
out there.
Wait, does mom know?
No, but Dad does. And so,
Oh, no.
and get out of the jury room. No, but here's the thing: is so Mayer says he thinks they were making a serious, scary movie, and then Derek's contending that the intentionality behind it was that it was a little more tongue in cheek. And having seen *Malignant*, this kind of reminds me of kind of like the Showgirls effect, when you kind of realize that. Maybe this movie is a little more tongue in cheek. And so I think this might have been a forebearer to *Malignant*.
If it's tongue in cheek, what is it leaving you with? It's not smart, like.
No,
like
but it does have some. It does have some legitimately. I don't think it's trying to be smart. No one accused it of that. I do think it does have some legitimate scary moments, though. Mary Shaw is scary. Maynard's right. Way too many powers. Definitely unfocused. But she is creepy. And I think with the decision, like, he let Donnie Wahlberg shave the whole time. The director could have said, hey, lose the razor. James Wan let these things happen. And we see him being a very deliberate director in other things, So I think the first time you see this movie, I could understand why you might not like it and go, this isn't really good. But having seen what James Wan's done since, it kind of works, So...
No. If you take that razor out, like he has literally.
*Malignant's* actually a good movie. This is not. I hate.
No, but it's setting the table for it for sure. I don't think you can make the claims about *Malignant* that we made and upheld in this court and completely discount them for *Dead Silence*, though.
I think this sets up more for like The Nun. That's what that kind of
goes
to.
I can make that point all time.
But
I hate.
You could, but it wouldn't be legitimate.
I hate this movie absolutely. It's not scary.
Oh, wow.
It's hard to look at. It's pretty boring and unremarkable. I don't care for the performances. It's a big old whiff for me. From moment one, I did not care about literally anything that happened. Can't stand this movie.
Wow.
Do you think someone's
hey,
some beer bottles?
Someone has to be in charge.
I was promised my spirits. Where are they?
They're coming. That's the sound that you hear. They're
Okay.
getting them ready, and the bailiff's going to bring them in here any second.
This is how trailer trash goes. I don't know how you fancy pants run your Reels of Justice
Out
show.
of my jury room. What is this?
It's the crossover that's like trying to beat down the doors.
Yeah, I know. They've got a lot to say. So, Ryan, you sound pretty emphatic. Is there anything in the case that really moved you one way or the other at all?
I went in with an open mind, sitting
Okay.
down like, okay, impress me defense. And from moment one, the prosecution kept on hammering on things that I sat there with arms crossed watching this movie. This isn't fucking good. Fucking hate this movie. And literally every single point I could corroborate. I honestly, I mean, even if it's supposed to be tongue-in-cheek and funny, it's not very funny. Its intentionality is one thing, but to actually execute it is another. And I don't think that it's successful in execution if that's what he's trying to make. I don't think that having Malignant necessarily means that he was on this ball this early, because he was still a very fresh director at this time. So I don't know that you can necessarily look
Paul
at the
Verhoeven
present
has
and say
received
that it proves the past.
You see, that's the only. See, the problem is though. Like, I feel like Paul Verhoeven gets that pass. I feel like James Wan is going to get that pass, whether we give it to him now or 3 movies from now. I think he's going to keep moving in this direction, and it's going to make a lot of sense.
But
that's what I'm saying.
Always funny. Like, Verhoeven has been funny since the very beginning. James
RoboCop,
Wan,
like RoboCop,
which
is
is not
satire,
very funny.
straight out.
Moves on to this, which is not funny at all. Moves on to Death Sentence, which isn't terribly funny. I mean, just because he made a movie in the present day that's funny doesn't mean that his missteps of the past are then wiped out.
No, I mean, it's not an unfair point. It's not an unfair point. So Ryan, you were foreman, right?
Yeah, I'm foreman. So
all right,
I'll lock it in.
No, no, you're the foreman. You got to go last. So
Okay.
Ben, I want you to lock it in.
I really did like the Defender. We need to have Derek in more. He's got the passion, but I do think he's wrong on this one. Dead Silence. It's bad. Even like the more you look at it, the more you can find there that makes it not stack up. So I too am going guilty.
Okay, well, just for the record, I love both these guys. You know, Maynard's my best friend.
I've known you longer.
and I love the passion Derek brought in, and I love Maynard's case, but I do think Derek brought enough where we weren't able to get this movie all the way to guilty. So I am saying not guilty, and we'll let Ryan Luis Rodriguez, who's been on record in a few episodes hating this movie, make the call.
I didn't know he said it.
Jeez, I wonder where I'm going to fall on the spectrum.
Wow,
that's
fine.
Surprise! I'm going to go guilty.
All right, that's fair.
Let's go out there. Let's tell that very handsome judge.
See, this is why I like when Ryan's the foreman and I'm the judge, because then he has to call me handsome. All right, Mr. Foreman, have you reached a verdict?
We have, Your Honor. In the case of the People versus Dead Silence, we find the defendant guilty of being a bad movie.
Why is the cowboy back?
Trailer trash rides again.
I don't understand.
I'm so sorry, Dead Silence. I'll get money to your family.
Oh, no, you won't, because the verdict is so rendered and Dead Silence is to be thrown into the pits of movie hell along with Ryan's doll collection, because that really creeps me out. Court is adjourned.
This is Ben the Dummy. Hey, stop snickering, all you. Mr. Maynard, you won this case. Throw your voice at me and let me know what you thought of that verdict.
Well, this is the scariest thing out of the whole Dead Silence is Ben the Dummy. I saw this movie in theaters. I don't remember hating it, but when I revisited all the Wan movies last year, I remember it being really bad. I'm glad the jury liked my case so much. I do think it was a very strong case. I still think my Crystal Skull case is better, but this was a strong case for me, and I'm happy with the verdict.
Thank you very much. And here comes Derek Schlender. You sure didn't look wooden up there to me. What did you think of that verdict?
First of all, this is a dark day for cinema. I think we have a strong case on appeal. I wasn't here for voir dire, so I didn't get to talk to any of the jury members. I certainly would have weeded out Ryan, who's blatant bias.
We have never had anyone bring up voir dire before. I'm very surprised, actually.
Well, when I listened to the Malignant one and he hated this movie, I was like, oh, fuck me.
Did not remember.
No, it's like at the 15-minute mark. I made a note at home and it just wrote 15-minute mark. Ryan hates dead silence, and then I just wrote "you're fucked." So, Ben, I hope that answers your question.
Little Ben, please.
No, he's Ben the
Ben
dummy.
the dummy.
Oh, Ben the dummy?
Yeah.
Not Little Ben?
We're going to go back to that studio now for post-trial analysis, and I'm going to get this hand out of my puppet chute. See you later.
Puppet shoot. Don't make his brown eye blue. Fun case. This is funny because this was born very organically. We were going over movies with Derek that he should do in horror movies, and we happened to bring up Dead Silence, and I brought up that had like a 20% in Rotten Tomatoes. Derek was shocked. He was no way it deserves that low. He's like, absolutely not. And what do you think now?
Obviously, I hadn't seen it in the theater.
Yes, that's a problem a lot on this show.
So, when I watched it the other day, I was like, just underlined the part where, remember the note I said, Ryan says he hates it, and it says you're fucked. I just underlined it twice. And I was watching it, and I was like, I have to scrape for this one. It is so hard to watch, even at 90 minutes. It is so boring. Like, I mean, yeah, it's shot okay. The sound is okay. The whole movie's just okay at best.
So blue and gray.
It is,
and Diamond Donnie Wahlberg is the second best part of this movie.
I loved him though. I
do like that character choice. Actually, so what was funny is Maynard and I were kind of nitpicking. We were spitballing ideas back and forth for his case. We spent a whole workout, maybe like 50 minutes, just picking apart different things about why they didn't work. And I'd say, well, then that doesn't make sense. He goes, and this doesn't make sense. I go, and that doesn't make sense. And it just, the more you drill down, the less the movie makes sense.
You forgot the most important part.
What was that?
He filled it with a funnel.
That's better. I was going to say I picked up 300 pounds, but that's
true. That was dead.
My favorite of the Donnie Wahlberg moments is where he fails to arrest the guy.
Yeah.
And as he gets in his car to drive away, Donnie Wahlberg yells, "I don't even have a full tank of gas!" Like,
now, if anyone wasn't taking it seriously, it may have been Donnie Wahlberg.
He was the best part of that movie.
But yeah, he was the best.
No,
anyway,
I agree with you.
this.
I think he got to make those decisions, and they just never stopped him.
I was fucked out the gate. I knew it. I just knew it.
No, but yeah, honestly, Derek, this happens to a lot of guests on the show. Is they think of a movie they remember fondly, and then they watch it, and they're
with
like,
a critical eye.
With the critical eye.
It wasn't fond recollection. I just didn't think it deserved to be in the 20s.
I agree. It does not deserve
maybe a 30s.
No, 20s.
I'd still watch it like Saturday morning. You know, you're hungover.
It's not a 20 out of 100. It's that like 20 out of 100 people liked it or something, right, Ryan?
Yeah.
2 out of 5. It sounds fair.
I give it 1.5. So enough about that. So Derek, what's been keeping you busy? What have you been doing lately?
I sat in my room and waited for this.
Good job. Mission accomplished.
Some sort of a YouTubeable channel nowadays.
Yeah, my name is D-Rok Schlender, and I am one of the creatives behind the Schlender 5 Productions, and by that I mean the only one who does any of the editing, sound work, lighting, green screen effects. Maynard comes over and we do trailer trash, which has been pretty successill. It's a lot of fun.
He's the Maynard one.
Dylan does a few episodes, but it's really just...
Oh, God, don't watch the episodes with me.
Plumber comes
I can't
over.
handle the embarrassment.
I needed something to do. Like, we were coming out of like quarantine and I hadn't seen my friends for a while, and I was sitting on a little bit of money, and I was like, I can be an internet hack.
And
boy,
you
are you.
Welcome to the club.
Yeah.
So what's trailer trash like?
Well, I don't think I have to explain. Everybody here has seen it.
And they're hearing it.
Yeah.
They should.
Sorry. So trailer trashed. Maynard comes over. We set up a green screen. We drink a couple beers. We watch some trailers. And we just lay into them. Most of the time, we just lay into them, whether it's a good trailer or not. It's all jokes. And then at the end, we'll be like, yeah, but it looks pretty good. And then we just fade to black.
Yeah,
Do you guys write your riffs at all as you go ahead?
No. I think our first episode, we tried to write riffs. And the thing is that we are actually very drunk. And so trying to read or remember things doesn't really work. So usually what we'll do is we'll watch the trailer once before we start to record.
While we pregame.
And we are already drinking. And that is basically like, so we know what we're going into. And then we go right into it. So yeah, live riffing doesn't tend to work out most of the time. I think we have some good hits here and there. But mostly it is just about fun and
it's just about
friends.
I mean, let's address the elephant in the room. Your most popular video, Baz Luhrmann's Elvis, and you got a lot of feedback on that one.
That one blew
all
up.
negative.
It blew up.
Let me tell you something.
The Elvis fans came
The
for us.
Elvis fans, they are on YouTube and they type long paragraphs.
If you ever want to call someone old and guilty of having a collectible plate collection, they are gonna put on their glasses, hobble over to their keyboard, clickety-clackety. Elvis was awesome. He wasn't at all the god of
Oh, you just gotta give him a chance.
He groped me when I was 13. I love him. He said I was a little old
on this show. I'll watch. I'll prosecute it.
And then actually we did.
It actually turns out the Elvis movie wasn't all that bad.
It wasn't that bad.
But the trailer was pretty
trailers
bad.
are pretty bad.
Well, it's Baz Luhrmann. It can't all be
It's
strictly
interesting.
ballroom, right,
That's
Ryan?
one thing. It's like what you learn from watching trailers more critically too is like usually the trailers that tell you the least are the best, like Barbarian.
Yeah,
told
very
you
little.
Told you very little. And
Good setup.
And it really made me want to see the movie.
Quantum Leap reboot.
Some though seem like they're going to be great, like Father of the Bride, and didn't live up to it.
Yeah, we had a good time with that one, and we were excited to see it. And I got to say, the movie's flat.
Yeah, movie bombs. But it's cool. It's fun to do something.
We've been experimenting.
Visual.
Yeah, we've been experimenting with Fix It in 5.
Yeah, tell them about it.
Oh, yeah,
So
yeah.
I set a chess clock. I have 2.5 minutes. He has 2.5 minutes.
Maynard does. They can't see you pointing.
Well, it's certainly not you.
Wow. It's just because I ruin everyone I'm on.
So
Dylan has like 1 second to go.
I'm the celebrity shot. I get
Yeah.
a couple seconds, then I got to dip.
So then we just go back and forth ideas, hitting the chess clock until we run out of time. We've only done it the once, but I really like it.
We did it one day, but we did about 3 of them. But
We did like 5, but
they're
2
out.
of them are not usable.
yes, 2 of them are unusable.
No, it is a good idea, though. I like it. You have the chess clock set up there. I like how you both have to hit it. Even though you're working together, you're still kind of competing. It's weird. I like it.
Yeah. There's a lot of like fix-it shows, and it is kind of competitive, right? Because if they take your point, you got to move on. But so hopefully we'll see some more Fix It in 5. It's just interesting to work in a visual medium that, like, since we've been podcasting, we don't really have that. And all you really get in Fix It in 5 is the clock. But I think Trailer Trash gives you like the time to react. I mean, there's a lot of reaction videos. We completely steal the Mystery Science Theater thing of doing the silhouettes.
The silhouettes are great.
No shame at all.
I hate it when people talk during the trailers.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that was our big feedback. People were like, I can't hear the trailer.
It's like, watch the
Like, go fucking watch the trailer.
Right.
Watch the trailer. What are you doing?
But anyway, so that's Schlender 5 production still on YouTube?
Yeah, it's just on YouTube.
Yeah, I mean, if you put in Schlender, it's not a
You know
particularly
the
common
name.
Yeah, it's either going to be the Schlender
Well,
Five
it's common
Productions-
enough. There's 2 assholes on this show right now with that name.
Wow. What about the guy who wrote the Steve Jobs book? We should get him on the show.
His
Get
name also
all the
Schlender?
Schlenders we can.
Yeah, if you YouTube, if you put Schlender 5 into YouTube, it's going to be that, or it's going to be something very different.
Oh.
Actually, if you put Schlender in, you also get our
That episode
buddy
of Cops.
Dwight. That's even better than Dwight.
But it's Daryl.
Oh, no!
So we always ask our guests for a recommendation of a movie that you think people should see. So, Derek, what is a movie that people should see?
I think people should see the director's cut of Booty Call. It's even better than the original.
We went over this, and I said no.
Yeah, I heard you. I recently watched the BJ Novak film Vengeance.
Yeah.
And to be honest, I kind of expected it to, because it's like about a New York podcaster who goes to Texas because they believe he was the boyfriend of like a sister, daughter who got, well, the brother believes she was murdered. He doesn't believe she could OD. So he's like, we got to find the drug dealers who did this to her and commit vengeance. And he's like, I'm going to record all this and make fun of you. But then he starts to like really humanize them and starts to feel part of their family. And it becomes kind of like, it's a very dark comedy, very dialogue driven. Just watch it. It's on Peacock. And
I'm sorry, it's on what?
Peacock!
There it is.
And I liked it a lot more than I thought. And it's not nearly as mean-spirited as the premise sets up.
Frank Dietz's movie of the year so far.
No.
Vengeance. Frank
Really?
Dietz's
Frankie
movie
D.
of the year. Frankie D.
Man, that man knows his movies. He's
Yes.
written a couple, so I'm trusting Frankie D.
No, we will watch it.
Now, Maynard, you were the prosecutorial man. The prosecution man.
Okay.
The prosecutor.
Prosecutor, man. I listed off a whole slew of entries into the killer toy genre earlier.
And you have to make a poster
in my
for all of them now.
opening statement. But there are still so many others I didn't name. Derek named the boy.
Make a
halfway
mosaic
during
of
this
them.
trial. So I'm going to heckamend one of them this week.
That's right.
One which it was introduced to me by friend of the podcast and gay icon, Bouncing Bobby Lapierre.
That jokes only works if you listen to the band. Go back and listen to that great episode.
He's going to love this joke in 18 months.
And that
Hi,
is
Bobby in 18 months.
and that is 2019.
Say hi to Bobby's wife. He makes her listen, apparently.
Well, he doesn't have to be gay to be a gay icon. And that is 2019's Benny Loves You. This horror comedy is sort of Toy Story meets Child's Play. A young man who discards all his childhood toys is horrified to find that his favorite, an adorable stuffed puppy dog named Benny, has returned to cleave a swath of destruction and carnage through anyone who stands in the way of the two being together. It's written, directed by Carl Holt, who also stars, and the film is completely aware of the humor inherent in this cuddly killer. Benny is really, really cute, but also really, really violent. And I challenge you to resist the urge to want to give Benny a big hug by the end. Benny Loves You is currently streaming on Paramount Plus, but also available through Hulu and Amazon with the Showtime subscription.
Now, would you say this is? It sounds like it's a hacker. Would
No,
you say it's a hacker.
No, it's a
not
funny. It's a funny horror.
It's a
It
cuddler.
knows.
a cuddler.
A
Oh.
cuddler. It's a horror comedy, so it totally knows what it is doing.
Ah, okay.
Yeah,
If Bobby
it's,
likes
it's
it, that's good enough
independent.
for me.
It's not like super high budget, but
Yeah.
the stuffed animal generally looks like it's moving on its
It's
own.
on a fishing line.
Yeah, it's not. There's not. Yeah, it's sometimes it may be. But the point is, it's funny, it's cute, super violent. So I think you'd like it. It's a fun entry into the killer toy genre. So
Sounds good. I like
so
that.
our judge was this big mouth Schlenzo D. What have you got for heckamendation?
Oh, thank you, man. What?
Boo.
Are you booing me now? No. Yeah. Wait till you hear my recommendation. Then you'll boo. Listen.
It's okay. Benny loves you.
Why didn't I think of that joke?
You know, it was
After
very
Dylan's
easy.
recommendation, there'll be dead silence.
No,
No.
Oh.
Benny is too good. He knows.
No, that's good stuff. All right, so all this talk of dolls today made me think I should look into some kids' features. And oh, what a feature I found on that glorious free streaming service, Tubi. That's right, Ben. I'm recommending Nellie Rapp, Monster Agent. In this movie, we follow a girl that just does not quite fit in, and while spending time with her uncle, she learns she comes from a long line of monster agents, a secret service designed to... well, the movie's all over the place. I mean, do they hunt monsters? Do they protect them? Do they hide them? It is actually never made explicitly clear. And besides, they throw all of that out like 20 minutes in so our protagonist can open a cafe with a Frankenstein monster called a Frankensteiner. And Maynard, imagine my disappointment that there was nary a hurricanrana in the whole film. But what this movie lacks in acting, plot, set design, makeup, and
Writing.
dubbing. No writing. No, and dubbing. The movie's dubbed because I think it was filmed in Scandinavia or something. It makes up for in Heart. Yeah, Heart. Yeah, that's what I got written here. Did you read my notes?
No, I just guessed.
It was the only thing left.
It was the only thing left, I know. Hey, guys, guess what? It's on Tubi, and Tubi's free. So watch it.
Tubi better pay me to watch that. It sounds like.
I think they will.
Oh,
if
boy.
you watch on Tubi, there's some sweet commercials, though. Those Liberty Mutual commercials, they
They
slap.
have the one where the Tupperware falls out of
The Tupperware falling out. Everyone loves that one. I know, right?
Rye Guy, what are you heckamending? Something better than
My
that.
spooky recommendation this week is another movie that, for a chunk of its runtime, also involves evil ventriloquist dummies.
Ooh.
1945's aforementioned Dead of Night.
Yes!
It's
nice.
an Ealing Studios anthology, a type of film that tends to be pretty hit and miss, but this stands as one of the better ones. Your anthology kind of lives or dies on the comparative effectiveness of your various chapters, and even the weakest chapter here is pretty solid. It also boasts a wraparound segment that I would put up against any horror film of the 1940s. It's legitimately creepy, and I dare not spoil any of it. Dead of Night is currently streaming on Canopy. Support your local library.
Hell yeah.
You got to get a library card, Derek, which means they have to unban you from the library.
Ryan, how long is that movie for coming out in 45 though? Is it like an hour 30?
It'll be under 90.
It's about it's around 90. It's 85.
It is
90.
one of the best horror movies of the 40s. It is a precursor to pretty much all the Killer Doll stuff. It's also basically, it's not really the first horror anthology, but it's up there.
Is it like a doll or is it like a ventriloquist?
It's a ventriloquist dummy.
Oh,
Yeah, it's a dummy.
dude, they creep me out like that Twilight Zone episode with the ventriloquist dummy.
Or like Dead Silence.
This is better than Caesar and Me.
Shut up, Derek! This is my show now.
I'm setting the ground for appeal.
But no, that is an excellent.
I do want to watch that one. It sounds good.
No, yes, I'll watch it sometime without you.
Big
Ben, why don't you send us on home? Benny loves you.
Benny loves you. Benny loves you.
That is
do it in the Ben the Dummy voice.
Benny loves you.
I love Benny. So
Aces.
great. Solid gold.
Dead Silence reminded me a bit of an X-Files episode about a devil doll, and while it makes for a weak connection, I'm going to use it to recommend another recent horror film that also borrowed from my favorite 90s paranormal series, and apparently it's on Trailer Trashed, and say you should go back to theaters and check out Barbarian. Now, I'm not going to tell you which X-Files episode it clearly borrows from, because you should go into this.
Dude, is it one of the murderous hillbillies? Shut up! Oh, I'm sorry.
I said go in as blind as possible. But yes, it's about the one with the...
Oh, that one's so good!
That's the best
That's the best one!
They had to make it into a movie.
It does still set itself up as very relatable in a modern way, though, where a young woman finds herself in an Airbnb with a complete stranger who's male, which is creepy in two ways, because you have no idea who this person is that you're sharing a roof with, and you also don't know anything about this place that you're staying in, or what creepy secrets it might have, and you might find yourself wondering after about a third of this movie, wait, wasn't Justin Long supposed to be in this thing? But that's because this movie veers hard later on, and it goes straight into the creepy. So turn off your cell phone, shut your traps just like we all used to do pre-pandemic, and head back to theaters if you can, or Ryan can tell you where it will likely start streaming.
Ryan?
Hulu.
Right.
This is why we keep Ryan on the show. He knows movies.
Barbarian is one of my most
production
looked forward to movies of this year.
I really want to see it.
I can't wait till it comes out and I can watch it at home because I don't want to go watch it anywhere. I'm also
watch it at my house.
We will. We'll have some beer. I'll bring the beer. I'm also looking forward to Smile a lot.
Yes, I want to see Smile
because
as well.
you saw all those Ben and Ryan? Did you see the pictures of like the people they sent to the MLB game for Smile, and they're in the Smile T-shirt, but they're doing the big smile the entire game?
Yeah,
it's great. Like
it's really
flash mob kind of live advertising. It's excellent. So Smile may be total crap. And like an It Follows sort of crappy remake.
I know the trailer freaks everyone out, at least in the theaters I've been watching.
Didn't creep us out.
Really looks redolent of...
go ahead, watch it. We have a trailer trashed.
Yes, we did do Smile on
with a
Trailer
brief
Trash
musical
as well.
number.
Well, we have a lot of them.
We sing too much.
Ben loves brief musical numbers.
And it's a good thing I don't know the X-Files as well as everyone else here, so I'll still enjoy Barbarian and not know. But I am excited that Justin Long's actually going to show up.
Ben and Barbarian.
Benny loves Barbarian. Oh no! Wait a minute.
I think we're all out of show, Maynard.
Are we all out of show? Let's
find out.
But we want to thank our guest D-Rok Schlender of Trailer Trashed, and one day we'll have your very, very handsome co-host on the show. I hope.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, hey, thanks for having me. And if you guys ever want to come on my show,
no, I don't think we'll be doing that.
We literally talked about how you were going to make that joke.
Dude, this is the 7th time we've talked about it today.
Such an easy setup. But we hope everyone else will join us again next time as the Reels of Justice keep turning.
Count it.
Dummies.
Wait, is he talking about us?
No, he was talking about
he probably was.
Please follow us on Twitter at Reels of Justice, Instagram Reels of Justice, and Facebook.com/Reels of Justice.